Next up on the call today is Kentucky's Mark Stoops. The Wildcats will travel to Ole Miss on Saturday at noon Eastern on ESPN. To ask a question for Coach Stoops, please press 10 on your telephone now. And, Coach, while we wait on any questions, if you could please take a moment to comment on your team as you enter Saturday's game at Ole Miss.
Yeah, sure. I'm looking forward to the challenge, getting on the road, going into a tough environment, playing Ole Miss. I really think Lane's done a terrific job with that program, and very difficult. They put a lot of stress on you in a lot of areas, and have done a very good job this year, and playing with a quarterback just getting better with every rep, and their running backs are a handful, as talented, arguably, as anybody in the country at that position, and put a lot of stress on you offensively with their tempo, the run game, and then, of course, the play action off of it. And defensively, again, equally is challenging, a little different in their approach with some of the shell that they play with in their secondary and the multiple DBs in putting stress on the way they could rotate and pressure and mix up coverages. So we'll have to be well prepared, and really looking for us to be a little bit more precise is the word we're looking for. We've been a little bit inconsistent, showed flashes of doing some very good things. Just need to put it all together to win a game like this.
First up, we have Bob Holt with the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette.
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
Doing all right, Bob. How about yourself?
I'm good. Hey, getting Rodriguez back for this game, how big a lift is that? And do you expect him to have to knock a little rust off? Do you expect him to hit the ground running, or what are your expectations for him?
Yeah, we're excited to get Chris back. Obviously, he's a very good football player that has a lot of experience, and we've been inconsistent in the run game. Now, that's not all on the running backs. It's everybody around him, needing to play more consistent, and but hopefully he'll provide that spark we're looking for in the run game. And Chris just needs to be him. He's been practicing with us, and so he shouldn't be too rusty. And he's during some of that time he spent over on the scout team, so he's been hit and thudded, and now we all know the games are different, and but he has a lot of experience, so hopefully he'll hit the ground running here this week.
And I was reading this is the first time since 1958 that Kentucky's played Ole Miss when both teams were ranked. That's obviously a long time ago. Just what do you think of that historical perspective on this game? It's something that hadn't happened in such a time.
Yeah, I didn't really know that till you just brought it up. But for us, it's a matter, and I'm sure Lane feels the same way. Let's try to stay there. Let's stay where we're at or improve. And so obviously a big game for both of us. He's done a fantastic job. They're a very good, well-coached, talented football team. And so, I imagine both of us are trying like heck to stay there or improve. And that comes with winning.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next is Glenn Gilbo of Outkick.
Hey, Coach Stoops, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. I wanted to ask you, you had 3 losing seasons before you turned it around there at Kentucky and then turned it around big time. How nervous were you or worried were you, say, in that third losing season before you flipped it as far as your future there?
Yeah, not a bit as far as my future. How did I feel? You obviously always feel a little pressure because you want to deliver. You want to deliver for the people that invested in you, that believed in you, your fan base, your players. That puts the stress on. I was never. I think in no disrespect to you, because you probably didn't follow us that closely that long ago, but. That narrative gets a little old because anybody that had any idea what was going on around here could clearly see that we were always making progress. Now, that never comes as fast as everybody wants. We all want, it to happen faster. And in today's world, it is easier to turn it around because of the transfer portal and in the way. But back then, with the limitation on signing classes and the transfer situation not being as open as it is, I mean, it was going to take time, So fortunately for me, I worked with an administration and a president that understand and that very clearly everybody knew around here we were making improvement no matter what the record showed.
Thank you. Appreciate
it. Thank you.
Next is Jason Scarborough of Spirit Media.
Coach, Ole Miss with the number 4 ranked rushing offense in the country. What do you see on film that your defense is going to have to do to kind of stymie that rushing attack and keep them in check?
Well, that's difficult. I mean, they're committed to it. They're powerful runners with an offensive line that's doing a very good job of working together. And then you add in the tempo and you add in the deception. It puts a lot of stress on you. So there's no way around it when you play an offense like this. You gotta be clean. You have to execute, and then you have to win some one-on-ones. And the way they put you in space with the run game and with the pass game, you have to be able to make plays. And so it's definitely a very big challenge. And I think if you ask Ole Miss, and by looking at film, the only people that stopped them this year were themselves. So we have to really step up and be very disciplined and very precise.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep.
Next is Jason Scarborough. AP Statum of WHEP.
Hey, Coach.
How you doing?
Coach, good, Coach. Thank you. Coach, what about Jackson Dart and Jonathan Mingo, that duo, and what have you seen from the pass rush from Ole Miss that gives you some concern?
Yeah, I think, with Dart and Mingo, I mean, 2 very good football players. I mean, they're very talented and playmakers, and Dart can run and throw, and with the pressure they're putting on you in the run game, it opens up for a guy like Mingo to make very big plays. So you got to compete, and you got to win some one-on-ones, and then with their defense in general, they're putting pressure on you. Their front's doing a very good job. They play very hard, and it's a good football team.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep, thank you.
Next is Mike Griffith of AJC Dog Nation.
Hey, Coach, congratulations on a great start to the season. A really, really big game this weekend. I know everybody's going to be watching.
Yep.
I've got a kind of a 10,000-foot question, and, you've been in this league a long time, and obviously your AD's been around forever. You guys got a lot of clout in this league. I want to ask you about injury reports, and if we're getting close to that in today's game, because we see some schools. We've heard Commissioner Sankey talk about, the proliferation of gambling and how that might affect student athletes and people around the program. What's kind of been your take on that, whether we need it and what the hurdles might be for that moving forward?
Sure. I think the hurdles may be just the players' rights. I think it's a little different in college than it is in the NFL, and with the injury report and things of that nature, maybe some of the hang-up. And you cut out on me there for a minute, but I think I got the gist of your questions. For myself, I'm usually pretty open. That's just my take. I just feel like the relationship with the media, you all have a job to do. I feel like there's enough information out there, whether you type out, but if you got somebody hurt, there's going to be people around campus watching them and noticing whether they're in a boot, whether they're on crutches, whether they're out. So my take has just been if I know a player's definitely out, if he's out, then I say it as early as I know. And that's just my take. So I'm not sure where we're at as a league or with the NCAA with that issue. I just try to be as transparent as I can be. There's times when you just flat out don't know. whether a guy's going to be ready to go or not. And, and some of that you have to play close to the vest. You don't want to give your competitors an advantage. But again, I just feel like when a player's out, I basically report it because, I feel like it's going to get out anyway.
That thorough answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Steve Moulton at WZZN.
Coach, always appreciate the time here, sir. With this being the first trip that Kentucky's made to Ole Miss in more than a decade, does this kind of lead into that argument of more conference games and more quality opponents per season?
I don't think there's any doubt that we're gonna bridge that gap. We're gonna fix that issue as far as playing opponents more often. There's no model we've been presented with that doesn't fix that issue. So yes, I think to your point, I think this is good. I've never personally played there, which is rare. This is my 10th season in this league, and I've never been there. So that's different. I don't know how. I think somehow, some way, the schedule with the East and the West got a little screwy. I think I've played Bama like 4 times in Ole Miss. We've played them twice, but never there. So looking forward to the trip. I've heard nothing but great things. I know it'll be a great challenge, but I think it's good that we're going there. I know our fan base is excited. I know we'll have quite a few fans make the trip, and we're looking forward to this challenge.
So much is made about Lane throwing the football and his style of offense, but from what you've seen, I hate to bring up the 2020 game, Coach, but from what you've seen out of Coach Kiffin from a running standpoint, how much does that set up what Lane does in the passing game?
Well, it sets up quite a bit, and they've been committed to it, this year, I think. But, Lane's very bright. Lane is going to do, play to his strengths. And I know that they have plenty in their passing attack, and they can unleash that at any time they want. And so I think with the run game, and being committed to it, much like we are, opens up some things. And so I think, with Ole Miss, they did what they had to do to take care of business in these first 4 games, but I know there's still quite a bit left in their playbook and off their play actions and set up off their run game that they can let go of it at any time. So you still have to play both. The bottom line is they put stress on you. You got to play both the run and the pass.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep. Thank you.
Coach, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Next up on the call is Mississippi State's Mike Leach.